welcome to the Wealth Twins podcast, episode number 20.
Let's go.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Nadia.
And we are the Wealth Twins. And we are so happy that you guys are here with us today because today we're talking all about money. Right, Nadia?
Yep.
So today I want to talk about something that could be a little interesting and see what your thoughts are. You know, we were talking about money earlier. And I think this episode should be about the purchases that we made with our money. So with that, I have a question to ask you, Nadia. What is a purchase that you made that actually changed your relationship with money? And I want to know what it is and why.
Just one purchase, or could it be multiple
We can
purchases?
go through different purchases. Give me the first one that you could think of.
I guess off the top of my head, it would be the purchase of my first home. And I'll tell you why. Well, when I went to purchase my first home, I had to get my act together. It's not that I was terrible at money, I was terrible at paying bills on time. And one of the things that I went through was the embarrassment of trying to qualify for a mortgage and realizing when they pulled my credit, it was low, not very low, but it was in the 600s. And it was kind of embarrassing because I had a lot of outstanding late payments on my credit report. And that was something that I said, you know what? If you're really serious about buying a place and being able to pay your mortgage on time, you have to get your act together and make sure you start paying all your bills on time so you'll be a better candidate when it comes to getting a mortgage and getting a better mortgage rate. So that purchase really changed my relationship with money, mainly because it forced me to become more responsible. So that forced me to budget my money. That forced me to pay my bills on time. That forced me to improve my credit. My credit's in the 800 range now. And it really forced me to focus on my finances instead of just getting paid and just doing whatever I wanted with my money. It made me focus on hitting a goal. It helped me focus on the importance of my credit report and my credit score. And just those things alone really changed my relationship with money because that mortgage was the thing that really set off my journey in order to be where I am today.
Well, I mean, I want to go deeper into how that might have changed and why it changed and how it made you change your attitude towards money. So,
Okay.
there's two major things I hear when when you're talking about it. So, one, it wasn't that making the money for the down payment wasn't your issue, right?
No.
Because there's two things that could stop a person from really buying their first property unless they're going to pay all out cash for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
One is the down payment for the property, and then the other is the credit to handle the loan that is going to cover the portion that you're not going to pay right off the bat, right? So the loan that you're going to get is the mortgage. Now, with that, having a high paying job or so is part of the criteria that they're looking at, what the bank is looking at when it comes to the loan. But when it
Exactly.
comes to your credit is a huge factor when it comes to your credit worthiness and also how likely you are to pay back a loan and to pay it back on time. Now you had the money to pay, but your behavior had shown the bank that you could be a
A risky
liability to them,
borrower.
a
Yes.
risky borrower. So seeing that, okay, I'm going to make this huge purchase, and how can I show that I'm a trustworthy candidate with that? And you didn't care about it before because as long as your bills were getting paid, maybe if they were 30 days later, so you never thought about how credit could really affect you if you had a good job. And I think a lot of people must understand that. People
I,
sometimes don't pay their bills because it's not because they have a money problem, it's because they have a management problem and it's just not focusing on it because they know they have the money to pay the bill.
well, I will tell you, I had no reason for paying my bills not on time, and I'll tell you why. It's kind of sad. It was because this is when I was getting paper statements in the mail when it came from my credit cards and stuff. And they had just moved the mailboxes from in front of the elevator to the side. So it would force me to walk out of my way in order to go get my mail and then go into my apartment and stuff. So that was the main reason why, because I would not go to my mailboxes. I thought most of the time was just junk mail. And I said, you know what? I'll just pay it when I get to it. So I would go and check the mail maybe once or twice a week, put it on my table, not look at it. And I'm like, oh, I need to pay this bill. I'll pay whenever. I didn't focus on any of the due dates. I didn't focus on how much the amount was that I needed to do the minimum payment because I knew I had the money. But that rude awakening came when I said, you know, I make enough money. I should be able to qualify for a mortgage. I see all my coworkers getting their apartments, getting their houses. I should be able to do. We all make the same amount of money. But like I said, that was a rude awakening because my credit wasn't there and my credit just couldn't get it. And I was embarrassed. So I said, you know what? Now you have no excuse. Get it together. Not walking to the mailbox should not be the reason that's stopping you from purchasing a home. So I had to get my
Yeah.
act together.
Okay, there's 2 things. One, you're dating yourself. Guys, if you're like 20 something, you might not have known that all this online payments wasn't always a thing. So you actually had to put a check
No,
in the mail and pay your bills.
not even that.
So
You can
Nadi
pay
is dating
online. I
herself.
just was that person that didn't trust having the automatic payments taken out of my
Yeah.
bank account. So I would make sure I paid them, but I wasn't doing it on time. And I'll tell you how bad it was. I would wait until I go use a credit card. If it got declined, I would just use another credit card. Go, oh, I have to go pay that one because it got declined.
Okay.
It was horrible.
Well, I mean, and this also brings up a point of you
I
can
didn't know any
have
better. I honestly didn't know any better.
I mean, we didn't grow up with credit or paying bills, so that's something we had to learn on our own. But on top of that, it also shows that you can have someone working right next to you, making the same amount of money, but actually living a different financial life. And that's
Yep.
something that we learn with through our experience, just with ourselves and also with the people that we were working with. You can make the same money as someone else, but you can have two different financial lives.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to home purchases as well, I believe that also opened up my eyes and changed my relationship with money as well because I realized it's not just enough to pay for a house, right? The maintenance cost of a house is something that people underestimate how high that can be. So you might have enough for a down payment, but you also need to be able to maintain that purchase. And this goes with not just, I learned that when it came to a home, but I also learned that when it came to cars. And that always changed my relationship with money in terms of that affected how much I was willing to pay in the first place for the purchase. Because if it cost too much to maintain, I was not going to deal with it. Because having a nice big house is great. And depending on the time of, like at one point, rates were so low that they were almost negligible. Okay. But understanding that $1 million house comes with $1 million maintenance in terms of fees that you're going to eventually pay throughout the line, in terms of painting, in terms of electricity, in terms of just maintenance costs and anything that happens in that house, I knew understanding how maintenance can affect something made me change the way I purchase things. So I think that all came ahead when it came to just buying cars and also buying homes.
Well, all right. So let me pose a question to you. What is one purchase that changed your relationship with money? So I said a house was mine, and yeah, you probably went through the same thing, but what personally changed your relationship with money?
I would say the purchase that changed my relationship with money would be when I went back to school and paid to get my MBA.
Okay.
So that is my master's in business administration. And I did not go to a cheap school. I went to NYU, and at that time, I want to say it's about 40,000 a year or so, like that.
Okay.
And paying that much money for a master's degree was a lot. And I was already at a good job at the time. I was already working on Wall Street. So justifying that purchase could be like, why was I doing that purchase? And I had to think about it. And the reason how it made me think about money was that I was not buying the education, right? I was buying the doors that will open up because of the education. Because it was an unwritten rule that they will help you get promoted. But on top of that, I received so much value outside of just paying for the actual bills for the classes. I was able to go overseas and meet different people from all over the country. I was able to network a lot more, and it's still paying off for me in terms of value when it comes to that. So the reason why the purchase changed for me forever is that I didn't understand the hidden value that came with that type of bill. And I think that's what I'm taking on for the rest of my life is when I buy something, what other value can I get out of it? Not just from the value of that purchase that's really easily seen. Yes, I can get an MBA. But what are the other hidden benefits or what are the other tangentials that I can get from buying it? So then it gives me more of a way to judge price versus value. And I think I take that no matter when it comes to clothes, when it comes to homes, cars, anything. What is the price versus the value? And I think I learned that from purchasing a very expensive MBA.
I think you bring up a good point. It's like how much utility can you get out of a purchase, right? So if I think about, let's say, a car, yeah, you can buy a nice car and it can look great, but is it going to cost you a lot in insurance? Is it going to cost you a lot more in maintenance? Is it going to cost you a lot in gas? Like, those are the things you have to take into account. Like, what's the true value of this car? And I think that's how I look at purchases too. Yeah, I can get a nice car, but if I look at the overall cost of that car, how much value is it giving me? And then that might sway me from buying this particular car versus this particular car. So I think it's a good point. It's not looking at the only thing that you buy, like that one particular thing, but what else do you get with that purchase? So I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think another thing I want to say, and I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head. When my husband, when we were dating, and he actually proposed to me, he wasn't very slick about it. He was letting me know sooner or later he was going to propose, and he was
Okay.
asking me my thoughts about rings and diamonds. And this was my opportunity to either go for status or price versus value and things like that. So I did want a diamond, and you can see I have a diamond now, but I didn't want him to buy the biggest diamond because I didn't see the utility for that. At the end of the day, it was to show that we had made a promise to each other that we're going to get married. And seeing when you actually go into Tiffany's, a store like Tiffany's or any jewelry store, you start learning about the four C's when it comes to diamonds, right? Cut, clarity, color, and I don't know,
It's carrot.
carat.
Carrot.
Carat, yes.
The most
So with
important.
that, I had to make my decision on which one of those four things was the most important to me.
Okay.
And seeing that I didn't go for the size of the carrot. I didn't go for the carrot because you actually pay more for that than you would for the other three characteristics of a diamond. So I focus more on color, clarity, and cut, and that way it helped me understand, okay, this thing, which is I'm going to be judged on, and I was judged on it when people saw my ring. The status took a hit for a while, but when I educated people on the four things that you look for in a diamond, it actually made more sense to people. So I know that has affected me, but that purchase allowed me to stand strong in my opinion as to why my diamond is not very big.
I,
Okay, I'm
I know
like,
I make fun of you about that, but the carrot is probably the easiest thing that you can get big. But it's probably the easiest thing to buy when you're getting a diamond. But the clarity, the cut, and the color are more important than the carrot. Like, you can see people walking around with big rings, but the quality is not as good unless you have those all four C's together. So I do make fun of your
mhm.
ring once in a while, but it is it is a good ring, and the more important factors are the other ones,
But
not
it also
the
changed
carrot.
it actually helped solidify that me and my husband had the same values even before marriage.
Exactly.
So, focusing on that one purchase actually helped align us, and we've been married for almost 15 years now. So I think that is a purchase I made that has definitely affected my view and my relationship with money from when we first started before we even got married to where we are now, cuz we have outlasted a lot of people. I don't know how much longer we're going to last, hopefully forever, but that is something. If you're not aligned with money with your partner, and then one of the easiest ways to do that is to test with the diamond before you even get married, or at least have a conversation about money. Because if not, it will your relationship with money before your marriage will definitely affect your relationship with money in marriage, and it will affect your relationship.
Now, if you were a person who was not in a position to buy a house or not getting married soon, what purchase would you say may change the relationship with money? I think a car is the easiest thing, but I think, going back to your point, I think your education is something that will change your relationship with money, especially with a lot of people who have student loan debt. They may feel like that education wasn't worth it, but there's a lot of people who say, you know what? Buying my education was probably the biggest thing that helped improve my life, helped me improve my situation. So that was a purchase that really changed my relationship with money, because you are learning how to sign a bunch of documents that you probably never seen before. And going back to a conversation I had with a friend, and I guess including mortgages too. He's a big time lawyer, and he said, once you understand about mortgages, that kind of financial contract, it's not much more for you to understand when it comes to other financial contracts. So I would think the same thing when it comes to taking out student loans. Once you understand the terms of the repayments and how everything is going to be doled out, I think that is a purchase that will change your relationship with money because now you're on the hook of something big. So, like buying a home or putting money towards school, like getting a school loan, these are huge amounts of money. They're probably the biggest purchases in someone's life that they're going to have. What do you think?
No, I definitely agree. So, and as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking of different purchases that can affect you even before you think about marriage or before you think about a house. Even outside of education, education is going to be one of the biggest investments you ever make, especially with the cost of education now. So,
Yeah,
if there's any way that you can say, let me see how I can balance out this education with the rewards I'm going to get afterwards, that's something everyone has to think about, even parents with their children before you step into going to school. So you have to have some type of like plan that should definitely affect how you're going to affect think about education. Now, I'm thinking about the purchases that I did that actually I can't say it was one purchase, but reason why I'm calling it purchases is the little purchases I made on my very first credit card. Now, when it comes to Nadia and me, the difference between us, one of the biggest differences, I really don't like debt. It's not that to say that I don't have any debt, but I try to get rid of it as quickly as I can because I don't like the feeling of it. And I think it stems back to I was the first. I'm not sure if I was the first. It was the first out of us, and also my mother and father to have a credit card. It was a $500 limit, and I got it right in school. They just sent it to me, and I bought a couple of different things, like I paid for dinner and stuff. But when it came time to actually pay for the credit card, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this credit card bill keeps going. It's like it's not going down. I'm making this purchase. I'm making a payment every month, and it looks like nothing's happening." So when I realized the purchases I was making on a credit card and the payments I was making, where they were just a minimum payment, weren't really affecting the actual balance. I was just really paying off the interest. That affected the way in my relationship when it came to money. I chose to more go towards paying for it in cash or debit cards, and also, whenever I did use my credit card, I always paid more than the minimum. So that definitely that first credit card and the little purchases I made, realizing that my payment plan to pay it off didn't actually move the needle, that affected a way in my relationship with money.
yeah, I think that's a good point. So, guys, what do you guys think? What's a purchase that made you rethink or change your thinking about money? We would love to hear in the comments below.
Yeah, I would also like to know, why did it change your relationship with money? Was it because of status? Was it because of embarrassment like Nadia? Was it because of was it because what was the reason? Why did it change your relationship? And it's something that is so strong and ingrained because it has to be I believe it have to be something that really hits you or touches you in a certain way
Yep,
to make you change your behavior. And each one of these things that we talked about today actually had an emotional effect on us or some type of effect that really forced us to change our behavior based on that purchase.
I
And
agree.
I would love to understand like what you guys did.
As you guys can see, we could talk about money all day and how it impacts different aspects of our life, but we only make a video once a week. If you guys like to hear more about our ways that we manage our money and our insights, make sure you join our Wealth Pack. It's our free newsletter, and you can find the link to join in the description below.
And as always, guys, thank you for taking the time to watch us and listen to us. And if you like the content, please like and subscribe, and please share this with someone you care about. Until the next time, see you later.